Mia froze. Okay, she echoed. Lena nodded, still on her knee. The tile was cold under her skin. I can do that, she said, just for the play. Mia's smile started small. Careful. Then it cracked wide open. Really, she asked. Really, Lena said. Mia flung her arms around Lena's neck. The hug was quick and fierce and smelled like peanut butter and crayons. For one wild second, it felt like a lifetime ago, when a baby's head fit under her chin and she still believed she could learn how to be a good mother if she just tried harder. Then the cafeteria noise rushed back in. Kids laughing, teachers calling, a whistle blowing. Mia pulled away, cheeks pink. My dad's gonna freak out, she said, half giggling, but in a good way. He says you're the one who draws the stars on the board. He's gonna think that's cool. Lena's heart stuttered. The stars, she asked. Yeah, Mia said. You know, the little chalk drawings in different rooms, the morning magic. She said it like it was a proper noun, capital letters and all. Before Lena could answer, a teacher called. Mia, honey, 5 minutes. Coming, Mia yelled. She turned back to Lena. Thank you. I'll tell Miss Ellis you're my mom for the play. Okay, Lena said. Mia ran off, ponytail swinging. Lena watched her go. Her hands still shook as she picked up the tray and carried it to the trash. On the black plastic, a small patch of spilled milk reflected the fluorescent lights like a tiny, shaky sky. By the time the last kid left for afternoon recess, the cafeteria was a mess of crumbs and sticky patches and half-empty juice boxes. Lena cleaned on autopilot. Wipe, rinse, mop, stack chairs, push tables back into rows. Her mind was somewhere else entirely. Mia Carter, 8 years old, 9 in October. She shouldn't have known the timing so precisely, but she did. Every year, when the leaves turned and Halloween decorations appeared in store windows, Lena's chest ached in a way that had nothing to do with weathers. She had never forgotten the day she'd delivered her daughter, no matter how hard her mind had tried to bury everything after. She checked the clock. 3:30. Classrooms would still be full. She had an hour, maybe, before she had to start in the halls. She pushed her cart down the empty corridor to room 12. The door was unlocked. It always was. Inside, desks sat in neat rows. Posters about reading and math covered the walls. Sunlight slanted across the whiteboard at the front of the room. Lena picked up a stick of chalk. She wasn't supposed to. No one had ever told her not to. But the messages she left never felt like part of her job description. The first time she'd done it, it had been an accident. She'd picked up a piece of chalk and to return it to the tray, then written 4 words without thinking. You are not alone. She'd erased it before she left. The next morning, she'd overheard kids talking. Did you see what was on the board? Maybe it was a ghost. She'd kept doing it after that. Little drawings, little sentences. A secret conversation with kids who might never know who was speaking to them. She pressed the chalk to the board now, hand moving on its own. She drew a cluster of stars. Not perfect, a little lopsided. She added a tiny heart in the corner. Underneath, she wrote, in careful, small letters, I love you more than all the stars. The same words she'd written in a letter that had never been read. Her hand trembled as she set the chalk down. She sat at one of the desks, the plastic squeaking under her weight. For a moment, she let herself imagine Mia walking in tomorrow morning, dropping her backpack, looking up, seeing the stars, recognizing the words from somewhere she couldn't quite name. A tiny connection, a thread. The door opened. Ms. Brooks. Lena shot to her feet. Mrs. Ella stood in the doorway, cardigan hanging off one shoulder, glasses perched at the end of her nose. She was in her 60s, with kind eyes and the perpetual air of someone who had seen everything and yet still hoped for the best. Oh, hi, Mrs. Ellis, Lena said, wiping chalk dust on her pants. I thought I might find you here, Mrs. Ellis said. She walked in, eyeing the board, the stars, the words. These are new, she said softly. Lena's cheeks warmed. Just something for the kids, she muttered. For the kids? Mrs. Ellis echoed. And maybe for you too. She laid a hand on Lena's arm. I heard about Mia's request. She added, she told me at recess she'd found a mom for the play. Lena's heart stuttered. Is that okay, she asked. I mean, if it's not allowed, I'll tell her I can. Mrs. Ellis shook her head. I think, she said, it might be exactly what she needs. And maybe what you need too. There was something in her voice, a knowing that went deeper than school policies. Lena swallowed. Sometimes I think you can see through walls, she said. Occupational hazard. Mrs. Ellis replied, you stay in one building watching families long enough. You learn to read cracks. She squeezed Lena's arm once. Rehearsal tomorrow at 10, she said. We'll need you on the mom bench. Lena nodded. After she left, Lena turned back to the board. I love you more than all the stars. She wished, for the first time in a long time, that a sentence could magically fix everything. It couldn't, but it could be a start. The next morning, the rumor mill was louder than usual. By first bell, half the third grade seemed to know that Mia Carter had found a mom. Kids whispered in line, glancing at Lena when they thought she wasn't looking. In room 12, they rehearsed the Mother's Day play. Chairs were set up in neat rows facing a makeshift stage at the front. A banner made of construction paper letters read, Our moms are stars. Mia sat beside Lena on the mom bench, swinging her legs. Her hand kept drifting to Lena's, like she wanted to hold it but wasn't sure if she was allowed. Lena let their fingers brush. One by one, kids walked to the front, holding index cards with lines written in big letters. My mom is my hero because she works at the hospital. One boy read, My mom makes the best pancakes in the world. A girl with pigtails declared, My grandma takes care of me and reads to me every night. Another child said, When it was Mia's turn, Mrs. Ellis gave her an encouraging nod. Mia walked to the center of the stage, knees knocking a little. She looked down at her card. My mom, she began, reading. My mom helps me with my homework and packs my lunch. She paused. Her eyes flicked to the back of the room. Lena sat straight, hands twisting in her lap. Mia took a breath, and she added, voice softer now, she loves me more than all the stars. That line wasn't on any index card Mrs. Ellis had written. Lena felt the floor tilt. Mrs. Ellis looked at the board behind her, where that same sentence glowed faintly in white chalk. Somewhere inside, puzzle pieces shuffled. Beautiful. Mia. Mrs. Ellis said, All right, everyone, let's take it from the top. They ran through the play twice more. Each time Mia said the extra line, each time Lena heard the echo of her own handwriting in a letter that had never reached its destination. After rehearsal, Mia dragged Lena to the hallway. Look, she said, flipping open a battered notebook. Inside, glued to the pages, were photos, blurry snapshots of chalkboards, stars, hearts, stick figures, words. You've been taking pictures, Lena asked, of the morning magic. Mia said, by dance. My dad gave me his old camera. He says photography helps you see what people miss. So every time there's a new drawing, I take a picture. She grinned. It's like having proof that good things just show up, she said. Lena's throat tightened. You really like them, she said. Mia nodded hard. Sometimes I have bad days, she said quietly. Days when I think, maybe something about me made my mom leave. But then I see the words on the board, and I think, maybe there are people who stay, even if I don't know who they are. She traced the outline of a chalk heart in one photo. Now I think it might be you, she added. Lena blinked back tears. I'm just the janitor. Mia, she said. Mia shrugged. Maybe, she said, but that doesn't mean you're not magic. Across town, in a glass office on the 12th floor of a modern building, a man stared at his laptop. Jason Carter's day had been full before he ever opened the email from Westbrook Elementary. Marketing reports, client calls, code reviews, the usual noise of a tech firm that liked to think it was saving the world with a better app. He clicked the notification almost without looking. From Ellis, Ma'am to Westbrooklum.org. Subject Mother's Day, play, rehearsal clip. You'll love this. He hit play, on screen, A familiar classroom appeared, a line of kids, a homemade banner. There was Mia, walking to the front. His chest tightened at the sight of her serious little face, the way she pushed her hair behind her ear. My mom helps me with my homework and packs my lunch. She read. Jason frowned. That wasn't true. He helped with the homework. He packed lunches. There was no mom to do those things. His jaw clenched. Then Mia looked at the back of the room and added, and she loves me more than all the stars. Jason felt something twist inside him. He watched Mia walk off stage and into the arms of a woman sitting on the mom bench. The camera wobbled, zooming a little too far, then refocusing. The woman had her hair pulled back under a navy bandana. She wore a faded t-shirt and work pants. Her hands were rough, one still holding a folded rag. She looked awkward, like she didn't know where to put her arms. Then Mia hugged her. The woman's face changed. The years dropped away. Jason's heart stopped. He knew that face. He had memorized it once, every freckle, every line that appeared when she laughed. A name he hadn't said out loud in years rose in his throat. Lena, he whispered. The room spun. He saw himself, 30, terrified, standing in an empty nursery. The crib gone, the drawers empty. A note on the kitchen table in his mother's handwriting. She couldn't handle it. Jason must in. She left. I've taken Chloe. We'll stay at my sister's until things are safe. He'd tried to call. No answer. He'd gone to his mother's. On the porch, she'd wrapped him in a hug and told him over and over that he'd done nothing wrong. That Lena had always been fragile. That some women just weren't meant to be mothers. He'd never found a letter. There had been nothing. Now, on his laptop screen, the woman he'd buried in anger held his daughter like she'd never wanted to let go. His chest burned. He grabbed his keys. The email was still open when he left the office, computer still glowing on the desk. Westbrook Elementary's front office smelled like coffee and paper and the faint tang of dry erase markers. Can I help you? The secretary asked, already reaching for her sign-in sheet. I'm here to see Mia Carter's teacher, Jason said. His voice came out too sharp. He tried again, and the janitor. Lena Brooks. The secretary's eyebrows rose, but she picked up the phone. A few minutes later, Jason stood in Principal Harris's office. Thick carpet, diplomas on the wall, a bowl of hard candy on the desk. Lena sat in a chair against the far wall, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on a spot near the floor. Her face was pale. She looked like she was bracing for a storm. Principal Harris, a man in his 50s with kind eyes and a permanently worried crease between his brows, cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, he said, I understand you have concerns. Jason didn't sit. You let her touch my daughter, he said, pointing at Lena. Principal Harris looked uncomfortable. Let's all take a breath, he began. No, Jason snapped. You don't get it. He turned on Lena. You left, he said. The word came out like it had teeth. You left our house, our baby. You vanished. And now you just show up in a video hugging my kid like you've been here the whole time. What is this? Some kind of twisted apology tour? Lena flinched. I didn't leave her, she said quietly. Jason laughed, harsh and hollow. You didn't, he said, because one day you were there and the next day you weren't. No note, no call. My mother said. He stopped. His mother, her voice, her stories. Your mother said I walked out, Lena said. That I couldn't handle being a mom. Because you couldn't, he shot back. You couldn't even hold her without shaking. You cried all the time. You said you felt like a stranger in your own body. You wouldn't let anyone help. I begged for help, Lena said, voice rising for the first time. I told you I was scared to be alone with her. That I was having thoughts I didn't want. That I was afraid of myself. Everyone told me I was just tired. Your mother told me to stop being dramatic. Principal Harris shifted in his seat. Maybe we should have this conversation. In the hospital, Lena said, ignoring him, eyes locked on Jason. They called it postpartum depression. They said I needed rest. Treatment. Your mother told me it was best if she took the baby home so I could get better. She told me to write you a letter. A letter, Jason repeated slowly. I wrote it, Lena said. I told you I loved you, that I loved her, that I was sorry, that I'd come back as soon as I could breathe again. Your mother said she'd deliver it. Jason's stomach flipped. There was no letter. He said, I know, Lena whispered, because when I got out, there was no house, no crib, no you, no Mia. Just an empty street and a neighbor who said your mother had sold the place fast and moved you both somewhere fresh. She said maybe it was for the best. She swallowed. I thought you didn't want us anymore, she said. I thought I had ruined everything, that I'd proven your mother right. The room went quiet. Principal Harris looked from one to the other, hands folded on his desk. I'm sorry, he said gently, but we do need to keep the focus on what's best for Mia today. Jason turned to him, anger flaring again. It was easier than the confusion clawing at his chest. What's best for Mia is for this woman to stay away from her, he said. Lena flinched like he'd slapped her. I'll quit, she blurted. I never meant to make things worse. I'll tell Mia I can't do the play. I'll figure out the rest. I'm sorry. She stood too fast. The chair scraped loud against the floor. Before anyone could stop her, she was out the door. Jason swore under his breath. Principal Harris sighed. Mr. Carter, he said, I understand this is a lot. But children. I know, Jason snapped. I know. He couldn't breathe in the office anymore. He left, heart pounding, and stepped into the hallway. Kids' artwork lined the walls. Crayon drawings of families, stick figures with big smiles, houses with crooked roofs, suns too big for the sky. Lena sat on a bench a few yards away, shoulders shaking. A mop leaned against the wall beside her like a tired soldier. Mrs. Ellis sat next to her, one hand on Lena's back. Did what she thought was right, Lena was saying, words thick with tears. Maybe I wasn't meant to be a mom. Maybe she saved Mia from me. Mrs. Ellis shook her head. You listen to me. Lena Brooks. She said, I've been teaching longer than you've been alive. I've seen good moms and bad ones and all the messy in between. You were sick, not evil. There's a difference. Lena sniffed. I wrote him a letter, she said. I know I did. Your mind plays tricks on you when you're in that place. But I remember the pen and the paper and his name at the top. I remember Evelyn taking it. Mrs. Ellis's face tightened. I remember, too, she said quietly. Lena looked up. You do, she whispered. Mrs. Ellis nodded. I was visiting my neighbor down the hall from your room, she said. Evelyn came out with a white envelope in her hand, your handwriting on it. Jason's name. Jason froze. He was close enough to hear every word. I asked if everything was all right. Mrs. Ellis went on. Evelyn smiled that tight smile she always had and said she was taking care of things. When she turned the corner, I followed, just far enough to see her stop by the nurse's station, look around, and rip the letter in half. Lena's breath hitched. She threw it in the trash. Mrs. Ellis said, I heard her mutter, he doesn't need to see this. He needs to move on. Jason's head spun. His mother, Mrs. Ellis looked toward the hallway, eyes narrowing. I should have said something then, she murmured. But it wasn't my family. I thought maybe there was more to the story. I let it go. I shouldn't have. Lena covered her face with her hands. So he never knew, she whispered. He never knew I didn't choose to leave. Jason leaned against the wall. The world tilted. All the years of anger. The story he'd repeated in his head. She walked out. She abandoned us. She proved my mother right for her. He remembered Lena, exhausted but glowing, holding their newborn. The way she'd cried, not with joy, but with terror. The way she'd begged him not to leave her alone because the thoughts in her head scared her. He had believed his mother because it had been easier than believing he'd failed his wife. The truth sat heavy. She had asked for help. He had gone to work. His mother had stepped in, and he had let her write the ending. That night, the house was too quiet. Mia's shoes sat by the door, small and scuffed. Her backpack lay on the couch, unzipped, a crumpled math worksheet sticking out. The kitchen smelled faintly of tomato sauce and garlic from the jarred pasta he'd heated up for dinner. She'd eaten half her plate, then asked if Lena was still going to be in the play. Maybe, he'd said. Her shoulders had sagged. Adults always say maybe when they mean no. She'd said, now she was in bed, breathing slow and even behind her closed door. Jason sat at the dining table, a toy car rolling back and forth under his fingers. An old photo album lay open in front of him. Pictures he hadn't let himself look at in years. Lena in the hospital bed, hair plastered to her forehead, a tiny newborn on her chest. Her smile was shaky. Her eyes were red, but there was something fierce in the way she held that baby. Another picture, Lena at home, sitting on the floor with the baby in her lap, both of them surrounded by piles of laundry. The room was a mess. So was she, but her hands were gentle. He flipped the page, the last photo of them as a family, a blurry shot outside their house. He was holding a box. Lena stood on the porch with the baby, waving at the neighbor who'd taken the picture. He hadn't seen any sign of someone planning to run away. He picked up his phone. It took 3 tries to call the number. Hello, Evelyn's voice came, crisp despite the late hour. Did you deliver a letter to me from Lena when she was in the hospital? Jason asked. Silence. Jason, she said, why are you bringing this up now? Just answer the question, he said. She was unstable. Evelyn said carefully. She didn't know what she was writing. It would have only hurt you. I did what I had to do. He closed his eyes. So you tore it up, he said. You decided for me. I protected you, she insisted. And Mia, that woman was dangerous. You don't know the things she said in that hospital. She talked about dark thoughts, about not wanting the baby. How could I trust she wanted help? He cut in. She said she was scared of herself. That's what people say when they need support. Mom, not when they want to abandon their child. You're rewriting history, Evelyn snapped. I was there. You were working. Someone had to take charge. And you liked that, he said quietly. Being in charge. Don't you dare. It doesn't matter, he said, suddenly exhausted. It happened. We can't undo it. He took a breath. But I can try to fix what's left, he added, starting with Mia and Lena. You're making a mistake, Evelyn said. She'll hurt you again. She already did, he said, but not the way I thought. And I hurt her too, by believing you without asking questions. He hung up before she could answer. The toy car sat still under his palm. For the first time in years, he let himself cry. Not the angry tears that had burned his eyes after sleepless nights with a screaming baby and no partner. Not the bitter tears he'd swallowed every Mother's Day. These were different. They were for the letter he'd never read, for the woman who had begged for help and been told she was dramatic, for the little girl who had grown up thinking her mother simply didn't want her, for the part of him that had chosen the easier villain. When the tears finally slowed, he wiped his face, stood up, and went to the hallway closet. A small, dusty box sat on the top shelf. He pulled it down. Inside lay a tiny pink hat, a hospital bracelet, and a folded piece of paper with crooked handwriting. Mia, age 5, I love you, Daddy. He smiled, just a little. I'm gonna do better, he whispered, though no one was there to hear it. Then he turned off the light and started planning how to make sure Lena didn't run again. Not this time. On the morning of this Mother's Day play, Westbrook Elementary buzzed. Paper flowers hung from the ceiling. Posters declared, thank you, moms in glitter glue and marker. Chairs filled the auditorium, rows and rows of them, some already draped with jackets and purses reserving spots. Backstage, kids adjusted crooked ties and smooth dresses. Teachers tried to herd them into some kind of order. In a small custodial closet off the side hallway, Lena tied a trash bag, set it aside, and picked up her backpack. She had cleared out her locker that morning, a few spare t-shirts, an extra pair of sneakers, a tin of tea bags Mrs. Ellis had given her. It was easier to leave before the bell than after the performance. If she stayed, Things would get messier. She could already hear the whispers. Parents had seen the rehearsal clip in the email chain. Some had asked questions. Who is that woman with Mia? Isn't she the janitor? Don't they usually run background checks? She couldn't risk more trouble for Mia. She opened the back door of the school. The parking lot was half full. The sky was bright, the kind of clear blue that made everything look sharper. Going somewhere. She jumped. Jason stepped out from behind the door frame. Hair slightly damp, shirt wrinkled like he'd gotten dressed in a hurry. You scared me, Lena said, hand on her chest. Sorry, he said. I tried waiting in the office. They said you were finishing up some things. You shouldn't be back here, she said automatically. Parents aren't allowed. We can argue about school policy later, he said. Right now, Mia is in a classroom putting on lip gloss and practicing her lines. She thinks you're going to be in the third row, on the aisle next to me. Lena swallowed. I can't, she said. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said yes. This is too much. For her. For everyone. He stepped closer. Wind tugged at his tie. Lena, he said, look at me. She did. His eyes were tired, softer than they'd been in Principal Harris's office, less sure of themselves. I heard what Mrs. Ellis said. He told her. About the letter. About my mother. Lena's shoulders hunched. I didn't want you to have to live in that story forever, she said. The one where I'm the villain and you're the hero. It seemed neater, cleaner, if I just stayed gone. I lived in that story for 5 years, he said. It didn't make anything cleaner. It just made me bitter. He took a breath. I'm sorry I didn't look deeper, he added. I'm sorry I trusted the version that hurt you. I'm sorry I didn't fight for us. For you. She blinked. Why are you saying this? Now, she whispered. Because today, he said, our daughter is going to stand on a stage and talk about her mom. And for once, the person she's talking about can actually be in the room. The words settled between them. Our daughter. What if I mess it up? Lena asked. Her voice shook. What if I freeze? What if I embarrass her? Jason's mouth twitched. Have you seen the other parents? He asked. There's a dad in there wearing a tie with pizza slices on it. Someone's grandma is dressed like a disco ball. You'll be fine. She almost laughed. Almost. He sobered. You missed 8 years, he said gently. Not by choice, but you did. Don't miss this too. Don't let the fear my mother planted in both of us steal one more moment. Lena looked past him. Through the open crack of the door, she could hear the muffled sound of kids' voices warming up, the squeak of sneakers on the stage. Her fingers tightened on the strap of her bag. What if she doesn't want me there? She said. When she finds out who I am, she already chose you, Bryce, Jason said. Before she knew your name, she walked up to you in that cafeteria and asked you to be her mom. I don't think it gets clearer than that. He held out his hand. For a second, she saw 3 timelines. One where she walked away, found another job, spent the rest of her life wiping down desks in empty classrooms, listening to echoes of kids who were never hers. One where she stayed but hid. Let Mia call her Miss. Lena forever and kept the truth locked inside because it was safer that way. And one where she took his hand. She exhaled. Okay, she said quietly. I'll come. His shoulders lowered. The tension he'd been holding eased. Just a fraction. He didn't say thank you. He just turned and held the door for her. They walked down the hallway side by side. Not together, not yet. But not as strangers either. The auditorium lights dimmed. Parents rustled in their seats. Phones ready. The air smelled like perfume and popcorn from a fundraiser table in the lobby. On stage, kids lined up in height order, cheeks flushed, some grinning, some looking like they might bolt at any second. In the third row, on the aisle, Jason sat with his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. Lena sat beside him, knees pressed together, palms damp. She had changed out of her work shirt into a simple blouse Mrs. Ellis had insisted she borrow. It felt like wearing someone else's skin. Relax, Mrs. Ellis had whispered backstage. They're kids, not critics. Now, as the principal welcomed everyone and the first child stepped up to the microphone, Lena tried to breathe in time with the music playing softly over the speakers. One by one, kids took turns. My mom is my best friend. My grandma makes me feel safe. My auntie tells the funniest jokes. Parents cheered. There were a few tears. Some kids forgot their lines and giggled. Others read too fast. Then it was Mia's turn. She walked to the front, hands gripping her paper. From where Lena sat, the stage lights made a halo around her. Mia took a breath. My mom, she began, reading from the card. My mom helps me with my homework and packs my lunch. A little murmur went through the crowd. Some parents who knew the Carters shifted. Mia's eyes flicked up. She looked straight at Lena. It was like the rest of the room disappeared. My mom, she said again, her voice steadying. My mom is the one who stayed in my heart even when people said she was gone. A hush fell. She loves me more than all the stars. Mia continued. She just has to be mine. Silence. Then, very quietly, someone in the back sniffled. Before any adult could process what was happening, Mia dropped her paper. She hopped off the low stage, dress swishing, and walked down the steps. Sweetheart, the music teacher hissed from the wings. Stick to the... Mia kept going. She walked straight down the aisle, past row after row of blinking parents and buzzing phones, until she reached Lena. She stopped. Her lower lip trembled. Is it okay if I call you Mom? She asked. Everything inside Lena that had been holding too tightly let go. Yes, she whispered. It's more than okay. Mia launched herself into her arms. Lena caught her, folding her in, breathing in the smell of kid shampoo and crayons and something that felt like grace. Jason stood. He moved toward them, knees weak, and knelt beside their chairs. He put one arm around Mia's back and one around Lena's shoulders. For a second, all three of them just held on. On stage, the music teacher didn't know whether to continue. Principal Harris cleared his throat. Sometimes, he said it into the microphone, voice a little thick. Mother's Day is about more than biology. It's about the people who show up. Let's give it up for all the moms, grandmas, aunties, and miracle workers in this room. The crowd applauded. Some clapped politely, some clapped hard. A few parents wiped their eyes. Mrs. Ellis, standing near the curtain, clapped until her hands hurt. On the Our Moms, Our Stars banner, a piece of glitter loosened and drifted down, catching the light like a falling star. Mia pulled back just enough to look at Lena's face. You'll stay, right? She whispered. Lena brushed a tear from Mia's cheek. If your dad's okay with it, she said, glancing at Jason. Jason nodded. I'm more than okay with it, he said. He met Lena's eyes. This is my family, he said quietly. If you want it to. She held his gaze. I do, she said. It wasn't a wedding vow, but it was a start. Evelyn Carter came 3 days later. Lena saw her car through the front window, sleek, dark, expensive. Evelyn stepped out in a beige coat, heels clicking on the walkway, folder tucked under her arm. Maybe you should take Mia to her room, Lena murmured to Jason. He nodded and called, Hey, Bug, why don't you show Ms. Lena that new picture you drew? Mia grabbed Lena's hand and tugged her down the hall, chattering about stars and chalk and a collage she was making. From the bedroom doorway, Lena could hear voices in the living room. First, Jason's, low but firm. Then Evelyn's, sharp. Can't just let her walk back in, Evelyn said. She's unstable. She has a history. She had postpartum depression. Jason replied. It's a medical condition. Mom, not a moral failing. She talked about not wanting the baby. Evelyn snapped. She talked about being scared she would hurt the baby because no one was listening to her. Jason countered. There's a difference. You turned her fear into evidence against her. I did what I had to do. Evelyn said, I saved my granddaughter from a dangerous situation, and I will do it again if I have to. I have a lawyer ready. We can file for full custody. The court will listen when they hear about Lena's history, about her instability. But no, Jason said. The word was soft, It stopped Evelyn mid-sentence. What did you say, she asked. No, he repeated. You won't. You think you can stop me, she demanded. Yes, he said, because this time, I'm not 29 and terrified. I'm not letting you write the story for me or for my daughter. He took a breath. You took 5 years from us, he said. 5 years where Mia thought her mom didn't want her, and Lena thought we'd vanish because she was unlovable. I let you do it because I didn't want to look too closely at my own part. That's on me, but it ends now. You're making a mistake, Evelyn said, voice trembling with anger. She'll leave again. People like her don't change. Jason thought of Lena sitting on the edge of Mia's bed, reading, her hand resting lightly on Mia's leg. Of her in the community center last night, talking quietly with a circle of women about postpartum depression, voice shaking but steadying as she spoke. Of her in the school hallway, wiping a child's spilled milk with the same care she'd use on a broken glass vase. She already changed, he said. She got help. She survived. She worked jobs most people don't look twice at just to stay near kids, hoping one of them might be hers. And when she finally saw her daughter, she didn't run. She showed up. Evelyn's face hardened. Then you leave me no choice, she said. You have a choice, he replied. You always did. You can be part of this family. Or you can stand outside it, but you don't get to break it again. Silence. Then the sound of heels on tile. The front door opened, closed. Lena exhaled slowly. Mia looked up from her drawing. Is Grandma mad, she asked. She's confused, Lena said carefully. Are you going to go away, Mia asked. Her voice shook. Lena's heart hurt. No, she said. Not unless you tell me to. I won't, Mia said quickly. Then I'll stay, Lena said. She meant it, every word. Time didn't fix everything overnight. Old wounds didn't disappear just because they were finally named. There were awkward dinners where no one knew what to talk about. Nights when Mia had nightmares and clung to both of them, confused and afraid they would vanish. Days when Lena woke up with her heart racing for no clear reason and had to remind herself that she was safe, that she wasn't in a hospital bed anymore. They went slow. Lena found a postpartum support group at the community center and started attending Wednesday evenings. The first time she almost didn't go in. She hovered in the hallway, hand on the door, listening to muffled voices. Jason sat on a bench nearby, a pamphlet about postpartum mood disorders in his lap. You don't have to stay, she told him. I know, he said, but I want to be here, just in case you need someone to walk you back out if it's too much. She smiled, small and real. In the circle, she heard stories that sounded like hers, thoughts she'd been too ashamed to say out loud, voiced by other women. I loved my baby, but I hated myself, one said. I felt like I was watching someone else's life. Another confessed. I thought they'd take my child away if I told the truth. Someone whispered. Lena shared too, about ink-smeared letters and empty houses and chalk messages on school boards. When she came out an hour later, her eyes were red, but her shoulders were lighter. Mia kept collecting morning magic photos. Now, sometimes Lena let her help draw. They stood at the board together, Mia on a chair, Lena beside her. Write something, Mia urged. Lena thought for a moment. Then she wrote, It's okay to ask for help. Mia drew a star next to the sentence. For the next kid who needs it, she said. On a Sunday afternoon a few months later, the park was full. Kids chased each other across the grass. Dogs pulled at leashes. Somewhere, a radio played a song from someone's car. Lena sat on a bench under a tree, watching Mia race toward the swings. Wait for me, Jason called, tying his sneaker. His laces had come undone again. You and those shoes, Lena said, shaking her head. I think they're cursed, he said. She started to lean down to fix her own laces and paused. Her fingers fumbled with the knot. Without a word, Jason knelt in front of her. Let me, he said. He tied her laces carefully. Double knot. The way you'd tie a kid's shoes before they ran too fast. The gesture was small. It felt huge. We missed a lot, he said quietly, still crouched at her feet. First words, first steps, first day of school. I can't get those back. I know, she said, but I'm not missing another play, he added, or art show, or weird science fair project. If she's on a stage, I want us both in the front row. She smiled. Deal, she said. He stood and sat beside her, their shoulders touching. They watched Mia pump her legs, swinging higher and higher, hair flying, laughter drifting back to them on the wind. Lena slipped her hand into his. He squeezed it. No speeches, no grand declarations. Just three people in a park on a Sunday, learning how to be a family out loud instead of in secret. For years, Lena had believed she didn't deserve a second chance. For years, Jason had believed anger was easier than forgiveness. For years, Mia had believed some missing pieces could never be found. Now, under a sky full of afternoon light, they all knew something different. Sometimes, the person you asked to pretend to be my mom for one day turns out to be your mother for a lifetime.